What if the world you've been waiting for, the life you've been dreaming about, the version of you that you keep imagining late at night, what if all of that has been waiting for you to finally wake up? What if the chaos of the past years wasn't a setback, but a setup? A disruption designed to shake you out of old habits, old beliefs, and old limits you didn't even know were holding you back? What if everything you thought you lost was actually clearing space for something bigger, something stronger, something you've never allowed yourself to become? What if this new world isn't something happening outside of you, but something being born inside you right now? Because here's the truth no one tells you. The world doesn't change until you do. Your circumstances don't shift until your mindset does. Your future doesn't evolve until you decide to stop dragging your past into it. And right now, you're standing at the edge of a brand new chapter, a chapter where fear no longer controls you, where excuses no longer define you, and where the person you become is 10 times more powerful than the person you've been. What if this is your moment, your turning point, your line in the sand where you stop surviving the old world and begin building the new you? Stay with me till the end of this video, because the next few minutes might just become the catalyst that changes everything, the start of your new world and the birth of the new you. What if the version of you you're holding on to is the very reason you can't step into the life you truly want? What if the comfort you've been calling normal is actually the cage that's been stopping your growth? Most people never realize that the biggest battle they fight isn't with the world, it's with the limits they've placed on themselves. And the shocking part is this: those limits aren't real, they're inherited. You absorb them from your past, your environment, your failures, your fears, your upbringing, and the stories other people told about who you were supposed to be. But what if those stories were lies? What if the you you've been living as is nothing more than a survival identity you built years ago, an outdated version that no longer fits the life you're trying to create? You cling to this old identity because it feels familiar, but familiarity is not freedom. Familiarity is simply comfort dressed as certainty. And the truth is, nothing changes until you dare to question that identity. You weren't born limited. You weren't born fearful. You weren't born average. You learned all of that. Somewhere along the way, you made your struggles part of your personality. You made your failures part of your definition. You made your trauma part of your identity. And now, every time you try to grow, this old version of you pulls you back like gravity. But imagine this. What if the life you want, the power, the breakthrough, transformation already exists, and the only thing blocking the path is the outdated identity you refuse to let go of? What if the moment you drop who you were, you instantly make space for who you could become? Because the truth is, the new world you're stepping into demands a new you, and that new you is waiting on the other side of your courage to release the old one. What if the one thing you keep blaming, your circumstances, your past, your habits, isn't the real problem at all? What if the real barrier stopping you from becoming the person you were meant to be is the identity you're still holding on to from the old world you've outgrown? Imagine this: you say you want a powerful, extraordinary, disciplined, unstoppable life, but deep inside, you're still operating with the beliefs, fears, and limitations of your former self. You're trying to build a new life with the psychology of an outdated version of you, and you don't even realize it. The shocking truth is that most people don't fear change. They fear losing the identity that feels familiar. You want transformation, but you cling to the same comfort zones. You crave breakthrough, but you defend the same old excuses. You dream of a new destiny, but you protect the same story that has kept you small for years. And you call it stability. You call it, this is just who I am. But what if that identity is the prison you built with your own hands? What if the reason you're stuck is because the world around you evolved, but you didn't evolve with it? The new world demands a new mindset, a new energy, a new way of thinking. Yet you keep showing up with old patterns, old reactions, old fears. That internal conflict, wanting the future but living in the past, is what creates stress, frustration, and the feeling that you're not moving forward, no matter how hard you try. Your identity is the blueprint of your results. As long as you think like the old you, you will recreate the same cycles, the same limitations, the same emotional patterns. But the moment you question that identity, the moment you ask, what if I'm capable of far more than I've ever allowed myself to believe? That's the moment everything starts to shift. What if the comfort zone you were clinging to is actually the cage that's killing your potential? What if the life you're defending so fiercely is the very reason you can't grow into the person you were meant to become? We don't resist change because it's hard. We resist it because it threatens the identity we've spent years protecting. But here's the shock most people never face. The identity you're fighting to hold on to isn't even yours. It's a patchwork of other people's expectations, society's rules, past failures, old fears, and survival. Habits you built when you didn't know any better. Think about it. You say you want a new life, but you cling to the same patterns. You want a breakthrough, but you repeat the same choices. You want transformation, but you keep feeding the beliefs that keep you small. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you keep negotiating with who you were instead of committing to who you could be. That's the invisible battle happening inside you, the future self calling you forward, and the old self pulling you back. What if the real reason you fear change is because deep down you know that once you step into your potential, there's no going back? No more excuses. No more hiding. No more pretending you don't know your own power. The old version of you would have to die, and that death feels terrifying, even when it's the very thing your soul has been begging for. But the moment you stop asking what might go wrong and start asking what greatness am I denying, everything shifts. You realize the new world you want can only be built by a new you. And the shocking truth, the next level of your life is waiting, impatiently, for you to stop protecting the person you no longer are. What if the reason your life hasn't changed yet is because you're still dragging the old version of yourself into a world that no longer exists? What if the thing slowing you down is not a lack of opportunity, not a lack of talent, not a lack of time, but the outdated identity you keep defending? Imagine this, you're stepping into a brand new world with the same fears, the same habits, the same excuses, the same beliefs that were built in a completely different chapter of your life, and then you wonder why nothing feels different. That's the shock. Your external world moved forward, but your internal world stayed behind. Every day you wake up with a chance to reinvent yourself, yet you choose to relive an outdated story because it feels familiar. You keep saying, this is just who I am, not realizing that this version of you was shaped by old pain, old environments, old limitations that no longer apply. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because you're loyal to a version of yourself that can't survive in the future you're trying to build. What if the real transformation starts the moment you question your own identity? What if the beliefs you repeat every day, I'm not confident enough, I'm not ready yet, I don't deserve more, are nothing but mental programs that lost their truth years ago? We cling to these beliefs because they feel safe, not because they're real. And the day you challenge them, you feel a shock inside you, the realization that you were never limited. Your mindset was, in a new world, your old identity becomes the biggest barrier. The moment you let go of who you were and boldly step into who you could be, everything changes. Because transformation doesn't happen when life shifts. It happens when you do. What if the very thing you're terrified to face is the one thing that could completely transform your life? What if the fear you keep running from isn't actually fear, but a signal, an alarm waking you up to the fact that you've been living far below your real potential? Most people think growth comes wrapped in comfort, certainty, positivity. But the shocking truth is that your biggest breakthroughs are always hiding behind the very discomfort you avoid. Pain isn't the enemy, it's the messenger. It's life grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, you're meant for more than this. What if the challenge you're resisting is the doorway to the version of you that you've only seen in glimpses, the stronger, braver, more unstoppable you? The version of you that isn't controlled by anxiety, excuses, or past failures. But here's what hits the hardest. Most people never meet that version of themselves because they choose comfort over evolution. They choose the familiar prison over the unfamiliar freedom. Fear tricks you into believing that staying the same is safer. But what if staying the same is the most dangerous thing you could ever do? What if the risk isn't in stepping forward, but in refusing to move at all? Because every time you ignore the pull to grow, you shrink. Every time you silence your inner voice, you hand your future over to doubt. And every time you choose fear, you lose a piece of who you were meant to become. But something changes the moment you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if this is the moment everything changes for me? Suddenly the fear doesn't shrink you, it fuels you. Suddenly the challenge isn't a threat, it's an initiation. And when you walk through that fire with courage, you don't just survive. You rise into a new level of yourself that fear can no longer touch. What if the breakthrough you've been begging for is hiding behind the very pain you're trying to escape? What if the struggle you're facing right now isn't a punishment, but a preparation for a version of you that you've never dared to imagine? Is the shocking truth. Growth rarely comes wrapped in comfort. It comes disguised as chaos, confusion, setbacks, and moments that make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. And the most unbelievable part? The challenge you're fighting might be the exact thing that is shaping the strength you'll need for the life you're stepping into. We're taught to fear obstacles, to avoid discomfort, to see adversity as a sign that something has gone wrong. But what if nothing is going wrong? What if everything is rearranging itself in your favor? What if the door that closed wasn't rejection, but redirection? What if every delay was protecting you? Every heartbreak was teaching you. Every failure was training you. What if life isn't happening to you? It's happening for you. The moment you shift from resistance to curiosity, your entire reality transforms. Suddenly, the pain isn't just pain, it's a message. The frustration isn't just frustration, it's feedback. The setback isn't just a setback, it's a setup for something bigger. And when you understand that, the heaviness you're carrying begins to feel different. It becomes fuel. It becomes direction. It becomes the fire that burns away everything that was never truly you. The shock is this: your next level won't be unlocked by comfort. It will be unlocked by the courage to face the uncomfortable. The courage to say, if this is happening, it's here to elevate me. And once you do that, life stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like a breakthrough in progress. At the end of this entire journey, I want you to ask yourself one final question. What if everything you've been searching for has been waiting inside you all along? What if the strength, the clarity, the courage, and the transformation you seek were never missing? They were simply asleep, waiting for you to wake them up. Every breakthrough you desire starts with a single decision, the decision to stop living by your old story and start living by the future you choose. You are not defined by your past patterns, your setbacks, or the moments where life made you kneel. You are defined by the moment you rise. And this moment right now is that rise. You've learned how to question your limits, challenge your identity, confront your fears, break your patterns, and build a vision that feels impossible to ignore. And now you stand on the edge of something bigger than a goal. You're standing at the edge of a new life, a new world, a new you. So step forward with confidence. Step forward with hunger. Step forward knowing that the version of you waiting on the other side is stronger, braver, and more extraordinary than anything you've ever imagined. Your transformation doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins the moment you decide it does, and you have decided. Good luck on this powerful new chapter. You are ready. You are capable. And you are more powerful than you know. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for having the courage to become the person you were always meant to be. Your new world begins now.